Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everybody, it's Debbie Potts doing a Friday episode about how to train, fuel, and perform for endurance sports as a low-carb athlete. And as I've said, I've changed the podcast, The Whole Athlete, to add a little bit more about training and coaching on Fridays, and also start to bring in you, the listener, doing a Q&A session or sharing your success stories and really getting involved more in the endurance world on performance and longevity. Then Wednesdays, I've added another new episode every week on health coaching and how to train the whole you from the inside out with what I call the holistic method, working on rebuilding your gut health and improving the whole you from the inside out using functional lab testing and helping investigate your contributors to your individual metabolic chaos as I am intertwining the nutritional therapy practitioner work I've done 3 years ago, I think now, and combining that now with my functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner certification I will be finishing up in 2 weeks, and putting that all together with my 25 plus years of training, coaching, and education. And it's a journey. So just as I share my life transformation from type A, AAA competitive endurance athlete, living life as a race, I am sharing my new life as a journey. It's a beautiful ride type of philosophy with you. And hopefully you're joining with me on this new journey and transforming the whole you from the inside out, as well as myself with the holistic method, where we talk about really looking at your whole performance gains and longevity, the aging process, by working on the whole you with the 8 elements of the holistic method: are nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress, movement, mobility in there, digestion and gut health, hydration, and happiness. Happiness, gratitude, play, laughter is so important. And all these 8 elements are all impacted really with stress and chronic stress and living life as a race and not taking time out to pause and reset. So having this chronic on-the-go, nonstop lifestyle, chronic hidden internal stressors, we're talking a lot more on Wednesdays, and how a pathogen hiding in your gut or your liver gallbladder dysfunction and all these different internal stressors contributing or leading to metabolic chaos are really additional stressors on top of our constant external stress from our exercise. You know, if you're doing more than 45 minutes a day and doing a lot of excess training and a lot of stress with just daily life, your job, your family, the craziness of your schedule, your financials, just bills, and everything that goes along with life. So that is the focus of this podcast, is really helping you as an athlete look at how you're living life each day, but also how to improve your performance in your next event, which could be non-athletic event. It could be tomorrow, just living each day to the fullest, hoping you feel alive and thriving. And today's show is going to be about your long run, as I'm recording this right after my long run on a Sunday morning. And I really felt the need to come right home and record this message for you. So, as you know, if you've read my book, Life is Not a Race, on Amazon, hopefully you have not read it. You can order it for a holiday gift for yourself and some other friends that are type A athletes. It's about my personal story, my journey, and my real life struggles with living life as a race for too many years. And now I'm trying to make my comeback and being healthy perhaps I won't be doing a 3:12 marathon again. And, I hope to. I don't blame the aging process. I blame chronic fatigue and by mitochondria dysfunction issues and HPA axis dysregulation. So that hormone imbalance of cortisol to DHA and more in a breakdown state versus building up. And this is why I really want to share what happened to me today, and know that you have a choice. When you have a scheduled workout from your coach, or maybe you are your own coach and use Training Peaks, or if it's just in your mind like I had today, that I'm building up my miles and I'm trying to rebuild my endurance running. Cycling, I've been able to do that for years, but running's always my area of opportunity since my so-called adrenal exhaustion that started in 2013. And I honestly signed up for Ironman Canada and Penticton next year on end of August 2020. So I'm focusing on this season, off season, to build my endurance running. I've found that to be my limiter as I've been struggling, trying to regain my fitness, my ability to run and race at a strong pace and not break myself down. And so my point today is that sometimes whatever your intended workout is, sometimes you need to stop, reassess, and listen to what your body's telling you. And I think a lot of athletes, we are often ignoring those red flags. And I shared in my book, Life is Not a Race, all my red flags that I ignored for so many years because I had no idea they were actually, signals my body was telling me to stop and slow down and take a little more break time in between the day, a little more longer transition in my life schedule. So today I had a great experience. It was a good reminder and a lesson to share with you that, all right, I had intended to do a 2-hour run and maffetone type of training, the max aerobic function, 180 minus your age, plus 5 to 10 beats, or minus 5 if you haven't done this type of training. I've been doing this, remember, for 15, 20 years. So I've done heart rate training. You need to train with the heart rate monitor. My eyes and how I coach people and coach myself, heart rate training, especially for long runs, and all your runs should have purpose because it's so easy to run and have your heart rate too high. So my intention was 2-hour run, or my goal was 12 miles. Now, I used to be a lot faster than I am now. So that's another podcast I did recently on, getting over that and just focusing on enjoying being outside, running, and enjoying moving and being grateful that I'm able to actually even run and not have any injuries. So I started my run. I do some hip openers, some lunges sometimes, walk a little bit. So I don't just get out the car and start running. We go to Madison Park in Seattle, which is a great place if you're ever in town to run. We just park down by the Lake Washington, Madison Park Beach, and walk a little bit, do some hip, legs, swings, openers, kind of loosen up everything, and then start running. Well, I started running where there's a stop sign, and it's kind of a point where my husband and I will start running, and he was doing a different workout than I am, and he's faster than me. And I'm, competitive, so I don't like to see him after our warm-up mile, keep him in eyesight, and then go our separate ways because he runs faster than me, and it makes me a little upset sometimes when he's so much faster and I have to work so hard. So for me, it's easier to do my long run alone and not know anyone by me, because then I'll be competitive and be upset and not be grateful as I should that I'm running. So I started my run and I just didn't feel it. I was like, I don't feel good. All right, just get through that warm up. I always say there's like a 15-minute range to warm up. And once you get going, sometimes you're just stiff. I was out later last night at a swim meet. Then it was the state finals for my client, family, friends, their daughter's last senior year swim meet. So it was at nighttime. So I didn't get to bed till 11, which is really late for me. I tend to go to bed, on the weekends, like at 10, but normally 8 o'clock. And so I was kind of off. My circadian rhythm was off, even though I slept in I did sleep 8-9 hours, but if you've listened to podcasts on sleep and circadian code and your sleep schedule, when you go to bed different times on the weekends and stay up later like that, and I had 2 nights in a row, we had events and I was going to bed later, you kind of have jet lag, and it's the same kind of feeling. You're just kind of off. So I blame part of my beginning of my run feeling off as jet lag because I was out later last 2 nights. So my sleep schedule was shifted off. So number one, I didn't feel quite right. So I'm starting my warm up, running along, going, you know what? I'm going to walk a minute and see how I feel. I started running. I'm like, gosh, I don't feel good. My head kind of hurts. I just don't feel it today. And then you're having all these conversations in your head, right? You're just like, should I keep going? This sucks. I'm going to just crappy workout, but I don't want to go sit in the car and wait 2 hours for my husband because he's going to be out running his long run, 15, 16 miles, and I don't want to wait. I'd rather be outside. And plus, I want to get a sweat going, get my heart rate up a little bit. So what did I do? I walked, ran, and then I thought, well, you know what? I'll just do more hills and go for a walk. And then I'll just say, reschedule my workout till tomorrow, or maybe I'm just fighting getting sick. So I did notice yesterday another red flag that sometimes your body needs more of a break. My heart rate was higher yesterday on our bike ride, and we rode 2.5 hours, 3 hours, kind of good. Well, it was under 3 hours, but 2.5, something like that. And I was keeping my heart rate down, but my heart rate kept being higher than normal. So I know when I'm fighting getting sick or I'm kind of run down, and I've not been overtraining, I know that. So I think it's just life or fighting getting sick when my heart rate's higher. And then this morning I noticed before the run in the car, my resting heart rate was about 10 beats higher. So that's another red flag. I need to reschedule or modify my run today. So I thought, all right, well, I'll just walk hills and get some fresh air. There's the Arboretum and the Interlaken, some great trails we have in Seattle. That's beautiful. It's fall, November. The colors are out. Fall leaves are on the ground. So then I suddenly saw this big, long hill that I like to go up sometimes. I'm like, all right, I know from personal experience, if I struggle warming up and I just feel like I need to shake my legs out and I can't get myself to run, well, if I go uphill and run downhill, something seems to loosen up inside of me. So I call it like shaking out the cobwebs. Like I feel like there's toxins inside of me, or, like I said, jet lag, something was going on. And I knew my 12 mile run wasn't in the cards today. So I needed to switch my plan around. So I thought, all right, walk, run for 2 hours, go for a nice hike. It's beautiful. And then when I saw this hill, I thought, you know what? I'm going to run up that hill in intervals. So I went my max aerobic heart rate. I try to run around 130. So if I do interval training, I try to go above about 155. High heart rate's 170. So I thought I'll run hard, get up to 160 or over 155, and then I'll walk a little bit until I get back into the 130s and then run again. So that's what I did. That was my workout today. And I ended up run, walk. I got to the top of the hill, then I ran all the way down, and I was like, wow. And that's, I think, over half a mile all the way up to maybe 3/4 mile. So I ran all the way back down and got back on the Interlaken Trail. It's a really pretty trail with the trees covering up and lots of leaves. So it was beautiful and peaceful. I'm like, well, I'll walk, then I'll run. So I was just letting myself my body would do what it wanted to do. It didn't want to do a 12-mile run nonstop. It just wasn't going to happen today. So I had to let go of that. Let go of training for my long run and not be frustrated, not be upset, not be angry and stress me out because I suck and I can't do it and I'm going to fail and I shouldn't be racing. I can't do a marathon. I used to do this and I blah, blah, blah. You have all those thoughts in your head, negative thoughts. So you have to just embrace the moment, the day, and meet your body where it's at. So for me, it was respecting and honoring what my body was telling me. And that meant going for a run and then a walk. So then next I did the Interlochen Trail and I kept walking, and I thought that's going to be my race plan today, training plan, and let yourself just go intervals. And I had fun. I made it a game and had fun with it. I did the 160, 155, 160, go back down to the 130s. And then I thought, oh, there's this huge set of stairs. I'll go do stair repeats and make an interval day. So I got to the base of these stairs, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of people going up and down them for their workout. It's great kind of HIIT training. So I ran all the way up. Heart rate got up to 172, came back down. Heart rate got down to 110, and then it went up again. And then there's Volunteer Park in Seattle. It's a beautiful park. And so I did some intervals through there. And so anyways, that was what I did today. And point is, I also wanted to make that there's sometimes, as I said, you need to modify your workout that you had planned. And then there's sometimes you need to just go for a walk and reschedule that long run to a different day, or else it ends up being a garbage workout. And if you're just training in that black hole, it's not really productive. It's actually taking a step backwards rather than forwards in your training for performance and longevity. So if you listen to any podcasts or read articles on hormesis, hormetic stressors, and then read anything about black hole training, maffetone, max aerobic function heart rate versus HIIT, high intensity interval training. Take that all into account. So if you are feeling kind of crappy, your body doesn't want to run, you break through those cobwebs as I did today and started to feel better. It just took me a half an hour to get going. And again, that could be jet lag from being out later than I normally am. My body was just tired from whatever. So then you just have to switch a workout around. If I didn't, I'd be running, feeling like crap, doing black hole training. My heart rate, probably if I ran nonstop, was about 150 heart rate, which is that dead zone. The maffetone for me is 130 to 140 is my good endurance range. Then my interval training is like high 150s, 170. So it's better for you, if I was coaching myself, practice what I preach, stay below that 140 for my 2 hours and work on my endurance, or do run walk and make it an interval day. So do the 160, 130, 160, 130. If I stayed in that dead zone, that's going to cause more stress in my body. So if you are already stressed, you already have life stress and internal hidden stressors, if you go over, I think it's about 45 minutes, especially if you're working at too high of heart rate, you are increasing the stress hormone cortisol. And if you have excessive stress hormone cortisol, that can lead to hormone imbalances, including an imbalance between your DHEA hormone. So we call this cortisol dysregulation and progressing you into the HPA axis dysfunction. There's different phases: acute, compensatory, and exhaustive phase. Now, if your cortisol is chronically high and your DHEA probably is low, you're creating imbalance, and an imbalance between everything is that Goldilocks effect, building up, breaking down. And we want to have that right amount of catabolic to anabolic. So that's what I was talking about, the hormesis. The good stress is a little bit of this, a little bit of that, not too much of one or the other. So I call it the Goldilocks effect, just that right amount for your body. So if you train and do the interval training, that's going to help break up that stress. If you stayed in that black hole training, say if I ran 2 hours and it would have been crappy pace because I would have been really slow, even my heart rate be elevated at 150, and say I'm running 2-minute mile an hour slower than I'd want to be, that kind of was counterproductive because I'm trying to not add stress to my body. So you're increasing that cortisol. And if you already have high levels of cortisol chronically, you have problems. And then if you are chronically depleted in exhausted or compensatory phase of HPA dysregulation, that will lead to problems as well. So to me, it's better to stay low or do the high-low interval training. Now, catabolic to anabolic, that's where we have that cortisol DHA ratio. So catabolic is going to be more breaking down, and that's why I'm saying don't go over 45 minutes, or else for your endurance exercise, unless you're training for a race or event that's endurance, you don't need to do that excessive cardio that a lot of people do. And it's just kind of garbage workouts, and you're increasing your cortisol level if it's excessive, and that gets to be that chronic cardio, and you're driving that cortisol level too high. Instead, I want more balance between the DHA, increasing that hormone, and not be in a catabolic breakdown, have catabolic dominance or cortisol dominance. So we want to have balance. So that means we need to do more that strength training, that anabolic building. So the same kind of thing we talk about in metabolic autophagy, interview with Sim Land, and you read his book, which you should order because it's really affordable, and it's like 550 pages of research he's collected between the mTOR pathways, which are more that anabolic muscle building, versus AMPK, cell autophagy, kind of detox, breaking down your cells. So there's everything in your body has this homeostasis, this balance it needs to be in, and we need to fine tune and work with your own individual needs, metabolic typing diet, working on your own genetics, and putting this all together with your functional lab testing that hopefully you'll do next year, and doing all these labs to figure out what is the right amount for your body to improve your performance and longevity. So going back to today's experience, and your lesson to learn from my experience is listen to your body. If I'm tired, I'm going to break myself down more if I just ran nonstop for 12 miles. And I had those red flags. I listened to my body. It just didn't want to run. I couldn't get it to warm up, and my legs and everything felt fine, but just my head wasn't feeling good. And so if you don't have your mind-body connection and everybody working together to help you run, it's just not good for you. And even if you have a race coming up, I think it's more beneficial sometimes to not push through it and do a garbage, crappy workout that you feel like grumpy pants afterwards, and instead honor your body, respect what it's telling you, and pay attention to those red flags, those signals, so you're being in tune enough to how you feel, which most people do not know how to do that until you've gone through what I've gone through. You know how to listen, and your body's own innate intelligence will tell you when you need to tweak things up or reschedule that workout. So just remember that, because if you don't pay attention to those red flags, you keep doing that while you're putting yourself down into that whole downhill spiral and creating, possibly progressing from acute phase to compensatory phase to exhaustive phase, and you're not able to recover and repair, and you're causing all sorts of internal damage to your body systems, and we call that metabolic chaos. So learn from my mistakes, and that's my goal in this show, to help you, educate you a little bit more, to learn all these red flags and create a little more awareness that you should, be careful on those long runs because they're hard on your body. The other thing I want to end with is that you should feel happy afterwards. I think a lot of times people feel, if they train too high of heart rate, and I watch other runners go by me and pass them, they're not looking good physically or mentally. They look too grumpy and their body just looks stiff and sore. It's like, gosh, is running really good for you? Is that something you should be doing? I mean, maybe you should do a little bit more mobility training and some yoga or Pilates to open you up. But, running should be nice, fluid, not stiff and jarring and uncomfortable in your body. that's really going to increase your stress level in the aging process. The other thing is to work in those heart rate ranges that your run when you're done, kind of like when you've eaten the right foods, you should feel alive and thriving. So if you did a good workout for your body and you met your body where it's at for that day, you should feel alive and thriving. Just as if you ate the right macronutrients of food for your metabolic typing, for your genetics. And again, you should feel energized when you eat food. Same thing with your workout. If your workout's not leaving you pumped up when you're done, well, I would think you overtrained and you're under-recovered. And you need to revise that workout and work with your coach. Measure your heart rate variability. Learn what your body's telling you. If you don't know how to do that, get out your Sweetbeat app or Heart Rate Variability Elite, HRV. There's a bunch of different ones. But measure your heart rate variability so if you know you're recovering. You should feel, as I say, happy afterwards. Not grumpy, not short-tempered, just irritated. That is a good red flag that you didn't listen to your body and you did too much for that day. So maybe you shouldn't have done 12, 15 miles. Maybe you should have done a shorter workout. And if you're not using a heart rate monitor and just think you're going by how you feel, well, I can feel pretty good, but I look down and my heart rate's 150. Well, that's way too high for a long run. I want to be about 130. So the goal with the Maffetone training, the max aerobic function heart rate training, you should be getting faster and faster at 130 to 140 heart rate, not train at 150 to 160, right? So we want to get faster, and say you're at a 10-minute mile, you want to keep working on that MAF training so you're getting down to an 8-minute mile and running that 140 heart rate. So keep doing your Maffetone training, but keep adding some interval training once or twice a week. As you get older, I think we need more interval training, and not blame the aging process, but just say that, you need to adjust your training program differently than you used to. And especially the longer you've done MAF training, the more interval training once you've built up that base may be necessary. And I think, doing that, wearing your heart rate monitor so you know where you are. When you're doing intervals, you're going high enough and not starting the next interval piece until your heart rate's on the way down. For me, it's 155 or higher, and then I wait till I get down in the 130s. So doing that, it's really important, but you need a heart rate monitor to do that. Same thing on the bike. Yesterday, I was keeping in my heart rate range. I don't use power meter. I just go by heart rate and change my gear based on that heart rate range. And then lastly, the post-run supplements that I have. I had some sparkling mineral water. I made some athletic greens that are in the fridge I need to go have still. I had 2 glutathione supplements that are good for muscle repair as well as your gut health, but that's great on an empty stomach post-workout. Kion has a new upgraded version of their Flex supplement that's really great post-workout. And also the Kion aminos. You can get powdered form and put them in your water as well, with maybe mix them in the athletic greens. And then I have some other supplements that I've learned from my FDN program called Support Minerals and support my adrenals and antioxidants, because all that oxidative stress that you're putting on your body and your cells, you are creating that damage. So you really want to have more antioxidant supplements. For sure, anybody should be taking antioxidants and having some omegas, which I should add that in my show notes too. But those are really important to have as we get older. And again, don't blame the aging process. It's just things change that we need. The anti-inflammatories from the omega fatty acids, and also they're good for your gut health. And then having a good meal. We're going to go have a grass-fed burger. I like having a fried egg and an avocado and some bacon on it, and that's my big meal. And since we ran later today because I slept in, another note, I don't use alarm on the weekends anymore. I don't meet a group because I like to just listen to my body and wake up and take my time getting up, have some coffee, have my water, and then we go for our run, and we drive to Seattle from Bellevue to go for a run. But afterwards, come home and have our main meal of the day, and then perhaps something lighter for dinner, but since it ends up being kind of a brunch by the time we eat, since I haven't eaten yet, and it's 1:35 p.m. So antioxidants, and you know what else I'm going to do now that I have my Sunlighten for mid and near infrared sauna at my house. I'm going to use that, as well as our Normatec recovery boots. And I also have a biomat. That's a far infrared mat that I can lay on the ground and do some stretching, but it's really feels good on my back. So I've got all the body hacks at the Potts house now. So that is all I have for you today. I wanted to get that recorded for you after my run, because I was writing all this in my head while I was running. It's really just stuff that you need to learn. It's intuitive training, fueling and performing by your intuition. Your red flags you need to honor, you need to respect, and meet your body where it's at and not ignore those things. Your body's smart, but I think we get so sympathetic dominant and so type A, AAA that we don't even pay attention to how we feel. And be okay to switching a workout up. Don't be set in stone. That's what my schedule says. I have to do that. Because it would have just been a crap workout if I went and ran nonstop 2 hours today. It wasn't even an option. My body said, no, I'm not there yet. So thank you, you guys. If you like what you're listening to, please share this with your other friends and go to Low Carb Athlete group page I added on Facebook this year, and also Instagram, Low Carb Athlete. And please go to Amazon and pick up my book, Life is Not a Race, It is a Journey with the Holistic Method. Also, grab, when you buy that, if you want a double bonus, you get the Holistic Method Manual and Workbook. And that's going to go with my 30-day online group coaching program starting in January and doing that every other month in 2020. So you'll need that book to go with the program, and lots of ebooks on my website, debbiepotts.net. So if you love what you're listening to, please give a rating and a review so we can grow the podcast and get more listeners to enjoy the journey. All right, guys, go do something fun today and smile and say hi to someone you don't know. Pay it forward.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.